What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce React World. We are staying in Poland tonight. We're going to be checking out Polish homes versus American homes. 10 plus houses, 10 plus house differences. Okay? Very much checks one out. We ain't going to waste no more time. Just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh, yeah.
Co słychać, Majkoani? Mam na imię Trevor albo Tadeusz. Alright guys, so today I'm going to be comparing American houses and Polish houses. Now, I lived in Poland for just a brief period of I think close to 80 days. And during my stay there, I noticed a couple differences between the houses there and the houses I've stayed at in America. So today I'm going to be comparing the differences that I noticed between the two. Now, obviously, I have to say this, that these are all mainly generalizations, and not every single Polish house, not every single American house has these amenities / features, and each one is going to differ. So I just want to get that out there that a lot of these are subject to change, and I'm not 100% right on all these, but just the differences that I noticed is what I'm going to be sharing today. So the first difference that I noticed is the overall exterior look to each house. So a typical American house has black shingles compared to a Polish house, which typically, to me, in my eyes, has a overall kind of like a Spanish type of tile, typically, and that's usually followed along with a tanner type of paint, I guess you could say, to the exterior. I'd say there's these two different stereotypes that I think of as the pictures are shown here. And I think
almost like clay tiles.
These represent pretty good stereotypical houses for America and Poland. Now, there's differences to how the houses are made, and when I was walking around the streets in Lublin and Dyce and stuff like that, so I noticed that the foundation of the houses are typically cinder blocks and cement or bricks in Poland. And in America, typically it's really just wood on top of a foundation of concrete. Alright, so now the rest of these are really not in order at all. So the next thing that I found that was different was taking shoes off when you enter the house. Now, in the States, the houses that I grew up in, I didn't take my shoes off when I walked inside. And obviously in America, this completely, there's a 50% chance that you're going to take your shoes off when you enter the house. But in Poland, it seemed like every single house you take your shoes off when you walk in, and also don't forget to not greet people over the threshold, because that's some type of myth or something there. I don't know. So another thing is big flush, small flush for the toilets. So yeah, most homes don't have that in the States. Actually, I've never been in a house that had that option in the States. And in every single house in Poland that I ever went to, there was always big flush, small flush. So another thing that I noticed is in Poland there's lots of heated floors and also heated towel racks. Typically the towel rack is in the bathroom and you can just set your towel on it and it just heats it up and it's nice and warm, or it's completely dry. And in the States, I've never seen a heated towel rack, and I've never been in a house with heated floors, so that's something I think is pretty different. So another thing is also plug outlets. They completely differ in the shape between Europe and America. So another thing, this is kind of a weird one, but I noticed that the toilet seats were actually thinner when I was in Poland instead of the wide toilet seats that they have in the States. Obviously, that's probably saying a lot about our cultures and how they differ as well. So another thing, this kind of differs in the States, but it's windows. And every single house I've ever been in, we've had sliding windows where they just slide straight up, slide straight down. And in Poland, it seems like there's lots of like twist the handle, push out types of windows. So that's just something else that I noticed. So another thing that I noticed in Poland is that there's no AC. It's mainly all fans. And also, I mean, that just shows that the temperature is okay there, even in the summers. In fact, I went there in the summers and it was always mild and it was not too bad at all, so you don't even need it. In fact, you can save a lot of money. And it's kind of funny though, because a lot of the people that I talked to whenever it was just like a summer day, everyone would say, oh, it's so hot out and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, wow, this feels cold to me. So yeah, you really don't need AC in Poland, I think, because the summers there are pretty mild.
We're gonna take a pause there. Not surprised by this fact, because from what I envisioned and from what I've seen so far, Poland just doesn't look like a place that's bordered by heat. Yes, and he confirmed it there, and this is not really surprising to me, even before I knew anything about Poland. But this is a confirmation. I'm gonna take it back just a bit.
Because the summers there are pretty mild. So it's just interesting to me because it seemed like a lot of Polish people complained about the heat and stuff that was there. But I'm telling you guys, you do not want to come to the eastern US in the summer, okay?
Oh my
the
goodness.
humidity is something you have not felt before, okay? It's a jungle, all right? It feels terrible. It feels nasty, okay? I can't stand it, all right? I want to move. I want to move already. So another thing I noticed between the two is washing and dryers. So in the US, you usually have like a small little closet where you put your washer and dryer in for your clothes. And it's typically found along a hallway on typically second floor. So in Poland, usually there's just a washer and it's usually in a full room dedicated to the laundry with a usually like drying racks and stuff like that, because usually there's no dryers. So this is going back to the exterior look of the house, but it seemed like in Poland there was always a fenced yard where you couldn't even really see over to the other side because there's so much purposeful growth of bushes and stuff like that, so you couldn't see anything. And it seemed like in the States there's really not too much emphasis on this look. And I know you guys have probably heard of the American dream with the white picket fence, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that's not really true. In fact, a lot of houses don't really have fences, and it seems like a lot of people don't really care about their yards. At least with myself in my own story, we don't care if our neighbors use our yard, and vice versa with them. They don't care if we use it. So one more thing that I noticed was the fridges. And in America, it seemed like we have these oversized large fridges, where in Poland, there really is not too much emphasis on the fridge at all. And usually it's just a one-door entryway. Alright guys, so that's some of the differences that I noticed between the two houses. But if you found any more, please leave them in the comments section down below and correct me if I'm wrong on anything. Obviously, again, these are all just generalizations between what I noticed between the two houses, and it's not 100% true. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. Dziękuję I do widzenia.
Yeah, this was very interesting. And when he said about the picket fences and stuff, yeah, this is a saying that I've always heard. I mean, times growing up in movies, the American dream, I have not seen a lot of American homes fenced up. It's not something I've seen a lot. The few times I've seen it is usually in more, I would say, above middle class, where the homes are sometimes fenced up to a certain degree. But regular homes, you don't see it really fenced up. In hindsight, as he said that, I'm realizing that for true, it's not a heavily fenced nation in terms of houses. I've seen it's always exposed, and houses are not far from each other. The yards are open, and like I said, I'm not surprised in terms of the temperature in Poland. It doesn't look like there's a heat problem per se. I don't think I've checked out any video putting the temperatures of Poland. It's something I'm gonna have to check out to see, maybe like what's the hottest it has been there and the coldest, to have a better idea, understanding throughout the seasons. Definitely, I'm taking Poland every day. You can't tell me anything negative about Poland, that's for sure. Yeah, if you want to see that long drive outro that I do, hit me on Dyce Reacts, where I do music reactions. This is where I'm going to be making my exit. So until next time, peace out.